पञ्ञा उदपादि विज्ञा उदपादि आलोको उदपादि. Teruvan Saranai, may you have the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. Dhamma friends, you are warmly and kindly welcome to today's Sutta studies. Today is June 1st, 2024. We are going to begin the Sutta studies with the wholesome thought in mind. The end of May remarks that another beautiful month is coming. It is June. Spiritually, it is really important for us as Sri Lankans because of the arrival of Venerable Mahinda to Sri Lanka on the full moon day of June, the Poson we call, so that we should try our best to practice the Dhamma in terms of practicing Sila, Samadhi and Panya, to feel the Nibbana, to reach to it, to have some thoughts about it. So the month of May and June are historically significant months for us to reflect the Dhamma. In last week, we were unable to come to Sutta studies due to a Sak celebration here. So now we are right back on the same track that we study suttas and discuss the Dhamma. So I'm so happy that it happens today. With that in mind, I'm going to begin the Sutta studies with usual respect to the Supreme Buddha. Let's recite Namo Tassa 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. I pay my homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dhamma friends, today's Sutta studies is about the last part of the Chula Vedalla Sutta. Do you remember that we had 3 sessions of the same Sutta, Chula Vedalla, for 3 consecutive weeks? We did not do it last week due to the Vesak celebration. Today I'm going to finish it and finalize the Sutta discussion with Chula Vedalla Sutta. Today I am going to focus on the section feeling and latent tendencies, and also the last part of it, opposite and counterparts, patibhaga. Then we can see the end of the sutta. Chula Vedalla Sutta, as you know, is a very good sutta to get a definition and details of the Dhamma facts that discussed in the sutta, and some other very important implication. Both disciples of the Buddha were very intelligent. They have tasted the Dhamma into such level that they could explain this, so that the discussion is so fruitful and deep. If I start with the feeling section, I think we would be able to cover the entire discourse today. Having discussed some Dhamma facts like Sankara, and then Samadhi, and also Noble Eightfold Path, and Sakkaya Ditthi, the whole yard of Sakkaya Ditthi, and there is a great discussion. So now Visakha and also Venerable Dhammadinna focus on feeling. As you know, feeling Vedana is a big subject in the entire teaching. Vedana, as you know, is something uh, something easy to understand comparatively, because Vedana, as you know, Sukha Vedana, pleasant feeling, Dukkha Vedana, unpleasant feeling, and Adukkam Sukha Vedana, neutral feeling. These are something to feel. We easily could figure out with the pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling, and if we try to think on the third type of feeling, that also should be understood, because it is something in common. However, meditation on feeling and getting into the sadhama or through that would be difficult, same as others. But in my understanding, with my experience, I would say that the meditation or dhamma practice or reading through on feeling would be much easier. If you look at the Salayatana Sangyutta Nikaya and elsewhere where Vedana is discussed thoroughly, you could understand how feeling arises and which way feeling should be sought out, and which practices we need to do in order to get out of the problem of feeling and so on. They are somewhat clear. Let me read through the discourse, Chulavedala Sutta, particularly on feeling. And now, how many kinds of feeling are there? Very simple question. Also, Visakha, there are three kinds of feeling: pleasant feeling, Sukha Vedana; painful feeling, Dukkha Vedana; and neither pleasant, no painful or neutral feeling, Adukkama Sukha Vedana. What now are pleasant feeling, painful feeling, and neither pleasant, no painful feeling? So the next question is about what is this pleasant feeling? What is this unpleasant feeling? What is this neutral feeling? Whatever also Visakha is felt bodily, mentally, as pleasant, as agreeable, this is called pleasant feeling. The origination of pleasant feeling could be either physical or mental, and it should also be pleasant and agreeable. This is called pleasant feeling. And the unpleasant feeling is both bodily and mentally, and it has the nature of pain and also disagreement. So this is called painful feeling. I think we know we don't need too many definition and explanation for understanding pleasant and unpleasant feeling, because we know it. We can understand it easily. Whatever also Visakha is felt bodily and mentally as being neither disagreeable nor agreeable, this is neither pleasant feeling nor painful feeling. In short, it's a neutral feeling. So now the discussion about feeling with this categorization is not that deep, because we have gone through these three feeling a lot through the entire to Sutta reading, and practical aspect is also somewhat easy to understand. So we know this. Now Visakha Upasaka asked this question regarding pleasant feeling. What is pleasant? What is painful? This could be very new, or this could be very interesting for some people. We never think about in this way in a normal setting, because we just want to enjoy the situation. We just want to understand the feeling. We look at the links in Paticcasamuppada, Vedana Pacca Tanna, Passa Pacca Vedana, Vedana Pacca Tanna. So we quickly go through on feeling, even by mentioning these three, but that's all we do in a normal setting. But this question is really interesting. What regarding pleasant feeling, what is pleasant and what is painful? In other words, the question the Visakha Upasakas is what is pleasant in pleasant, what is unpleasant in pleasant. In Sukha Vedana, what is Sukha? And again in Sukha Vedana, what is Dukkha? It means that in pleasant feeling there is a pleasantness. And in pleasant feeling there is unpleasantness too. Let's go through the three questions. Regarding pleasant feeling, what is pleasant? What is painful? Regarding painful feeling, what is painful? What is pleasant? Regarding neutral feeling, what is pleasant? What is painful? This is the answer from Venerable Dhammadinna. Pleasant feeling is pleasant when it persists. Painful when it changes. Very clear answers. Pleasant feeling is pleasant when that pleasantness exists. It is painful when the pleasantness changes. I think now you get it. Painful feeling is painful when it persists or exists or continues. Painful painful feeling is pleasant when it changes. Now we go to the third one. Neutral feeling is pleasant when there is knowledge about it. Neutral feeling is painful when there is no knowledge about it. This is the answer given by the Venerable Dhammadinna to the question regarding pleasant feeling, what is pleasant, what is painful? Regarding painful feeling, what is painful, what is pleasant on it? And regarding neutral feeling, what is pleasant and what is painful about it? So just think about this a little bit. No need to hurry and jump into other questions. We need enough time to understand this. In pleasant feeling, we all know what is pleasant. Pleasant feeling, or any feeling, any type of feeling arises in the Salayatan. As you know, that formula in Madhupindika Sutta and elsewhere, senses meet their respective sensory objects. Then the consciousness arises when senses meets their respective sensory objects. Meeting of these or conjunction of these three is called contact or phassa. And in that phassa, process, feeling arises, perception arises together. And here we take feeling, and we know Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, Adukkam Sukha Vedana. This is the origin of feeling. So now we know pleasant or unpleasant or neutral feeling is born in the sensory experience. So let's say that we have a pleasant feeling on seeing something we like most. So there is a pleasantness. So we like it. We wish to see it. We would like to do it again and again. That is the pleasantness of pleasant feeling. But naturally, it's going to change. Depending on eyes, seeing the particular object, eye consciousness, contact, we have that particular feeling. Due to the dependency of this pleasant feeling, it has the nature of ceasing also, so that we can expect pleasantness might go at some point of the experience and it turns into unpleasantness. So pleasantness of pleasant feeling is it existed, and when the pleasantness of pleasant Sukha Vedana is gone, it is called painful feeling. If you think of this with examples, you see, suppose you are so happy to see a match that is going to win, your side is winning. So you are watching this through television or any other media that normally you use, and before the peak of the game, electricity is gone, or somebody came and changed the channel. So your pleasantness is disturbed. What you want to do is disturbed by the action, uh, by the other person, or due to the electricity shortage. So now you're worrying about. Now you're unhappy. So in pleasant feeling, what is hidden there is the nature of unpleasant feeling. Likewise, painful feeling is not painful all the time. Painful feeling is unpleasant, difficult to bear when the pain exists, but when the pain is gone slowly, gradually, now you are happy about it. So the how this happiness, how this pleasantness arises in you, because pain is slowly going away from you. So with regard to uh, neutral feeling is unpleasant always when there is no knowledge about it. But when you know about the neutral feeling exactly as it is, you are going to have that pleasantness. Actually, these three types of feeling are clearly explained with some other details in the last discourse of the Majjhima Nikaya Indriya Bhavana Sutta also. So you can see them here. Uh, this is what it is. There are two sides of one feeling. The particular feeling is okay when it exists. In other words, with regard to pleasant feeling, pleasantness is okay as long as pleasantness exists, but we are going to worry about when it changes. But the other way around it works in painful feeling. Painful feeling is not something we wish for, but there is happiness of it when it changes. So likewise, we can see that three types of feeling are explained in a beautiful way, in a different way, by Venerable Dhammadina to Visakha, showing that her skills in the Dhamma, in explaining the Dhamma. So now the discussion move on to another important aspect of the Dhamma. It is called underlying tendencies. In Pali, it's called anusaya. I think many of you have heard about this word, anusaya. Something we all should understand and destroy or overcome from our mind. Now the question Visakha Upasaka asks is, what latent tendency lies in pleasant feeling? It is always related to feeling. That's why this question about anusaya is asked. What latent tendency lies in pleasant feeling? You see that when Visakha Upasaka is not in doubtful situation to ask these kind of questions, because he has that sense that Dhammadina has reached to a level of enlightenment, so that you could easily connect different the Dhamma facts to the one you already asked. He asked about feeling. Now he connects with the connects the underlying tendency with the feeling. What latent tendency, what anusaya lies in pleasant feeling, what anusaya lies in painful feeling, and what anusaya lies in neutral feeling. Visakha, the latent tendency of lust, it's called raga anusaya, lies in a pleasant feeling. So in pleasant feeling, what we have, or on what basis pleasant feeling arises? Raga anusaya, underlying tendency of lust. In other words, depending on the underlying tendency of lust, pleasant feeling arises. The latent tendency of aversion, patigha anusaya, lies in painful feeling. The latent tendency of ignorance, avijjanusaya, lies in neutral feeling. So see, these three type of feeling come into existence, they arise and exist and do all kind of things based on three anusaya, raganusaya, patiganusaya, and avijjanusaya. Here we just need to spend some time to understand what anusaya, what anusaya is in a singular term, what anusayas are in plural term, because there are 7 type of anusayas mentioned in the teaching. If I mention them for your records, there is a whole section in Anguttara Nikaya in the book 7, Anusaya Vagga. You can read through just to know all these 7 and some details, but simply they are underlying tendency of sensual desire. The same thing, Raganusaya, underlying tendency of aversion, Patiganusaya, or repulsion, underlying tendency of views, Dittanusaya, and underlying tendency of doubt, Vichikichanusaya, underlying tendency of conceit, Mananusaya, and underlying tendency of desire to be reborn, Bhavarraganusaya, and underlying tendency of ignorance, Avijjanusaya. These are the 7 underlying tendencies. Why do we call anusaya or underlying tendencies? Anusaya means living or sleeping inside our thoughts, inside our mind. Anusaya. In other words, they are living together, associating together. So you cannot judge these anusaya easily in your mind, because they are sleeping in your mind. They are sleeping in your thought processes. They are not visible. Only akusala layer, unwholesome layer you could see is 5 hindrances, Panchanivarna. They are the representative of all the fetters, asravas, anusayas, and 3 unwholesome roots. All these 5 have agreed to those layers of akusala to come out and provide these layers of akusala food. In other words, if you take 5 trees, what you see of the trees is the trunk and branches and leaves and everything up under on top of the soil. All the roots, whether they are small or medium size or huge, or the roots that has gone through everywhere in the soil, and the roots that have web like things on we cannot see them. We can assume that these are roots in this tree, considering the size of the tree, but we do not see. Likewise, we can see the anusaya, we can see the fetters, we can see asravas, we can see 3 root causes of suffering by way of 5 hindrances behaving. So here we cannot see anusaya. Anusaya means living together with the thoughts or associating together. These are some of the definitions we could have for anusaya. The English term is underlying latent tendencies or underlying tendencies. So you can understand now what it means. If you don't get this meaning, you can think of, or you can ask, you can read through these courses. Basically, anusaya. Anu means closer or together. Saya means sleeping. So basically, they are sleeping under in our mind with the other thoughts. So in order to understand anusaya in a deeper sense, I would refer you to suttas. Mahamalunke Putta Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, and also Chachaka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. These are very important suttas that you can understand, read through and understand Anusaya. I would go to Chachaka Sutta first, just to understand the nature of Anusaya there. As you know, Chachaka Sutta is a wonderful discourse to read through, not only once but couple of times. It is a kind of direct medicine for illness, and the illness might quickly go away from you when you take that medicine. Likewise, Chachaka Sutta is direct to our ignorant mind to cut and crunch these ignorance, layers of ignorance. It's so powerful sutta. So in the middle of the sutta, I would say actually later part of the sutta, the Buddha says to monks, Chakkuncha bhikkhave paticca rupecha uppajjati chakku vijnana. The things you already know is said in Pali here. When the eyes meet their form, chakku vijnana, the eye consciousness arises. Tinnang sangati passo. Meeting of these three is called passa. Then passa pacchaya uppajjati vedaitang sukangva dukkangva adukkama sukangva. Depending on contact, pleasant or unpleasant or neutral feeling arises. Either pleasant, one of the feeling could arises depending on the passa, depending on what you see or what you hear, and so on. Then so sukhaya vedanaya putto samanu abhinandati abhivadati ajjo sayatittati. Suppose you have pleasant feeling out of seeing, then what happened to you? Sukha vedana putto samano. When you enjoy that pleasant feeling, abhinandati, abhivadati, ajjotayasiti, you put into that pleasant, you grab yourself, you hold that pleasant feeling, and you are in that. That's abhinandati, you enjoyed it. Abhivadati, you also speak about it. And ajjosayati, you actually in it strongly. Tassa raga anusayo anusayati. When you enjoy that pleasantness of the feeling in numerous ways, what you do there is you are having raga anusaya, you are having the latent tendency to lust. Raga anusaya anusayati. Dukkaya vedanaya putto samano sochati kilamati paridevati urattalin kandati sammohang apajjati. Suppose you, out of seeing something, unpleasant feeling arises. What happened there? Then dukkha vedana putto samano sochati. You cry, you mourn, you cry, you become upset, you are actually having tears in your eyes, you beat your chest, and so you express your unpleasantness in numerous ways. There, adukkama sukhaya, Urattaling Samohang Apa Tassa Patiganusya Anusoti. There you allowed yourself to have the latent tendency of aversion. Because this is how you generate new type of new type of latent tendencies. Because out of seeing you let your mind arise pleasant feeling. You cannot do anything for that, because a rising pleasant feeling is quite natural, and it happens to even for the Buddha, even for the Arhants. But their reaction is different from us. They have cut off that latent, that abhinandati, abhivadati, ajjo sayati. They cut off that part definitely. What they do there is they see the impermanence, they see the unsatisfactoriness, they have that essence called non-self on seeing, therefore they are not going to take that pleasantness as us, as normal average people, because they have seen the truth. They cannot enjoy it because they, in other places it's called nibbida, viraga, nirodha. They have done that part of pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling, so that they do not enjoy it. So here, this is how anusaya come into existence. This is how anusaya, new anusaya is going to be in us. So let me read through further on neutral feeling also. Adukkama sukhaya vedanaya putto samano. Suppose by seeing something, you have neutral feeling, adukkama sukha vedana. There tassa vedanaya samudayancha attangamancha assadancha adinavancha nissaranancha yata bhutak nappajanati. So when you have neutral feeling, you do not know 5 things about it. What are the 5 things about it? How this neutral feeling arises, you don't know about it. How this neutral feeling sees, you don't know about it. How this you don't know about the asad, the enjoy the entertaining part of it. You do not know the results of it. Results mean the consequences of asad, and you do not know get out of neutral feeling, so that avijja anusayo anuseti, you are going to have latent tendency of ignorance. So this is why I said in normal context, people do not like this neutral feeling. They think that it's boring, it's negative, no any fun of it. So that they are trying to, when they have neutral feeling situation, they are trying to either to turn it to pleasant feeling. In some time, in some occasion it happens, but in other occasion it could turn into unpleasant feeling too. So however, the meditators who are serious on their training definitely value neutral feeling, because what you need to do there is to see these 5 things: how this arises and how this sees. Is this something that arose here with causes and condition, or this is how it goes away from me? And he or she might see the asad also, adina also, nissarana also of the neutral feeling. So it could be done with the other 2 type of feeling as well. So you see the rising and ceasing nature of them, and then if there is definitely a asad adina on that, and nissarana could be done also. So you can do these 5 things with 3 type of feeling if you are really a good meditator. But in normal sense, in the average human, they do not know anything about it. What they is looking for is enjoy them or rejecting them or being ignorant about. So what happened to them then is letting their mind to sleep with anusedam. Here it is said clearly, if you do not know how these 3 types of anusaya arises. So what the bhikkave sukaya vedanaya raganusayan appahaya, dukkaya vedanaya patigganusayan appati vinodetva, adukkama sukaya vedanaya avijjanusayan asamuhanitva. In understanding, in short, if you do not overcome the latent tendency to lust with regard to pleasant feeling, and latent tendency to aversion regard to unpleasant feeling, and latent tendency to ignorance with regard to neutral feeling, if you do not overcome these 3 type of anusaya, when these 3 type of feeling arises, you are not going to ditteva dhamme dukkha santakaro bhavishyati netang tanang vidyati. You cannot end suffering in this very life. So in other words, in order to end suffering fully, completely, you have to deal with the anusaya. You have to stop the ways of anusaya's origin. You have to consider these 3 types of feeling very much, because they are coming from these 3 roots: but raga anusaya, patigga anusaya, avijja anusaya. You have to stop the presence of these 3 anusaya in these 3 feeling. There you end suffering, because we know that dukkha is coming to effect in any ways as dukkha dukkha or viparinama dukkha or sankhara dukkha, because we do not know how to deal with pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling. If we know how to deal with pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling, exactly as the Buddha said here and other discourses, we are hitting so hard to the walls of anusaya and fetters, sangyojana and asrava, and all the layers of craving. So Chachaka Sutta clearly says that in seeing, in hearing, in tasting, in smelling, in touching, and even in thinking, three type of feeling arise. There you have to see the reality of the three type of feeling. There you stop those anusaya completely, and attaining nibbana is possible. This is why Vedananupassana as a meditation subject is powerful. This is why Vedananupassana is a direct path to realization of Nibbana. Liberation could not happen if you do not know how to deal with the pleasant feeling. This is what actually Chachaka Sutta says about Anusaya. The next sutta I go to refer to is from Sangyutta Nikaya Salayatana Magga. That is called Sangyojana Prahana Sutta. It's a relatively a small discourse, but very important with regard to how we deal with the anusaya. Katang nuko bante janato katang pasato sangyojana pahiyanti. The meaning is Bante, the Supreme Buddha. How do we understand and or see these anusaya in order to overcome them? To what extent we should understand the dharma to overcome this anusaya, or which area of our body or mind we should focus to overcome anusaya. Chakkunko bhikkave aniccato janato passato sangyojana pahiyanti. It's a very simple term, but very meaningful, and should be reflected over and over. If you chakkunko bhikkhu aniccato, if you reflect, the eye is impermanent, aniccato, and if you know it, if you know the eyes are impermanent, and if you really experience it, sangyojana pahiyanti, all these 7 anusayas are going to are going to be overcome. They are going to be away from you. So then not only the eyes, but all these forms that come through eyes, rupa, and then chakku viññāna, chakku sampassa, and chakku sampassaja vedana, and also the particular indriya, the sense called eye, and rupa, the objects of the eye, and eye consciousness, then the eye contact, and also feeling born from eye contact. So there are 5. If you see them as impermanent, theoretically as well as practically, there you are doing the overcoming of Kamaraganusaya, Bhavaragaanusaya, and Patiganusaya, Avijjanusaya, Vichikichanusaya, Dittanusaya, and all the anusayas are gone. So this is from Avijja Sangyojana Prahana Sutta. Sangyojana Prahana Sutta from Sangyutta Nikaya. Here, actually, anusaya is quite, quite similar to Sangyojana, because when you have Sangyojana rises, that means anusaya has done their duty as well. When anusaya arises, Sangyojana is being created. So they are the same thing is being named in different ways depending on the behavior of our mind. So this is called anusaya. Now back to Chulavedala Sutta. So Venerable Dhammadina explained that three types of feeling are coming from these three types of latent tendencies, Paraganusaya, Patiganusaya, and Avijjanusaya. And the next question is also interesting. Is the latent tendency of lust latent in all pleasant feeling? It means that now you said that latent tendency of lust becomes the anchor for pleasant feeling. But is do all kind of pleasant feeling come from latent tendency of lust? That's the question. Is that latent tendency of aversion latent in all painful feeling? Is the latent tendency of ignorance latent in all neutral feeling? You said that latent pleasant feeling come from latent tendency of lust. Painful feeling is coming from latent tendency of aversion, and neutral feeling is because of latent tendency of ignorance. All pleasant feeling is coming from latent tendency of lust. That's the question. Do all kinds of painful feeling is coming from latent tendency of aversion? Do all kind of neutral feelings come from the latent tendency of ignorance? The answer is no. The answer is no. Why should be abandoned? What should be abandoned with regard to pleasant feeling? So the answer is no. Then the question is, what should be abandoned with regard to pleasant feeling? What should be abandoned with regard to painful feeling? What should be abandoned with regard to neutral feeling? With regard to pleasant feeling, the latent tendency of lust should be abandoned. With regard to painful feeling, latent tendency of aversion should be abandoned, and so forth. So the question, I should clarify here certain things. When the question asked all the pleasant feeling are coming from a latent tendency of lust, she said, the Venerable Dhammadina said, no. Why? Why did she say this? Because some pleasant feeling are not from the latent tendency of lust. For example, in the jhanic experiences, there is piti sukha. In Satta Bojjanga, you find piti Bojjanga, Passaddi Sambojjanga, and so on. So piti is away from five hindrances. When there is no five hindrances, but there is happiness, it's called Niramisa Sukha. It's called Sukha that always we should appreciate. If you remember the Mahasatchaka and Arya Pariyesana Sutta, the Bodhisattva, before his enlightenment, he thought that, what about that pleasantness I experienced during that short meditation under the rose apple tree as a young person, and the Buddha experienced it many times. Sorry, the Bodhisattva experienced, in my understanding, but Bodhisattva experienced it many times in his quest. So it is away from five hindrances. Not underlying tendency of lust or any underlying tendency could present there, because it is not based on Kama Sukha. It is based on away from Kama, so that there is no underlying tendency of lust there. So that kind of pleasant feeling is okay. That kind of pleasant feeling is okay. Painful feeling sometimes are coming from not because of karma. So, when you talk about Niramisa Dukkha, there is dukkha feeling, painful feeling in Niramisa section as well. That is not like the unpleasant feeling in normal setting. And neutral feeling is also there without any part of any part of craving. You know, in fourth jhana, we have neither the particular feeling where there is no pleasantness or unpleasantness, and in that kind of neutrality, we don't have any signs of anusaya. So basically, what you need to understand at this moment is that the pleasant feeling in jhanic experiences are away from are taking us away from underlying tendency. That's why Buddha directly say jayeta bhikkave. There are fruit of trees, there are empty huts, houses and buildings, and there are forests which you could go and meditate jhana, practice jhana, because jhana practice is required for everyone. I mean, depending on you, or depending on your skill, depending on your character, that is required. Samadhi is required for cutting off of craving. So, particular one-pointedness of mind is required for everyone to pull out these root causes of suffering. So that Buddha asks us to practice jhana in a very direct way. He said that. So, friends, we know the fact that uh, what we need to remove from pleasantness is the uh, you know particularly underlying tendency of lust. A rising of pleasantness is always there as long as you live. Suppose you are an arahant, of course you have pleasant feeling, but what he or she has done there is getting that anusaya or underlying tendency of lust for pleasant feeling, so that pleasant feeling is not enjoyed anymore. This is why the Venerable Dhammadinna says, must all the latent tendency of lust be abandoned with regard to the pleasant feeling. Not all pleasant feeling have a latent tendency of lust that should be abandoned. Not all painful feeling have a latent tendency of aversion that should be abandoned. Not all neutral feelings have a latent tendency of ignorance that should be abandoned. Also, Visakha, a monk quite detached from sensual pleasures. See, Venerable Dhammadinna says, a particular monk or nun who quite detached from sensual pleasures, detached from unwholesome mental state, with enters and dwells in the first jhana, accompanied by initial application and sustained application, accompanied by zest and joy born of seclusion. In that way, he abandoned lust. No latent tendency of lust lies therein. Here also Visakha, a monk, considers thus. Now, when shall I attain and dwells in the mental base that the noble ones attain and dwells in whom there arises such a desire for being established in the supreme liberation. Uh, sorrow arises on account of that desire. In that way, he abandoned aversion. So, please read through the discourse. It's very clear. The place where you enjoy pleasant feeling but without underlying tendency of lust is the first jhana. So getting into first jhana is kind of getting into a safer place from akusala temporarily. So we have to do the temporary thing and in order for us to go to the permanent state of nirvana. The word I use permanent just because I need to use this just to explain it, but we don't, in the teaching and the vinaya, we don't use any particular word like permanent, but it's the way we have to say jhana is temporary. But if you want to attain nirvana, I suggest you better attain jhana. There is no harm because no underlying tendency of lust or any underlying tendency there, so that you could experience momentary nibbana in the jhana. So happy, so peaceful, no disturbances in your mind at all. And if you go to the second and third and fourth, the level of liberation temporary liberation you experience is so much so that you definitely go forward. I'm not saying that everyone, because even those people who attain to jhana have done so bad things for them to stay in samsara. But anyway, a lot of people, I think 99 percent people who attain to jhana at least 1 second, they are moving forward, because the happiness, the liberation, temporary liberation you get there is so much. So we can see in the sutta that Venerable Dhammadinna is explaining all the jhanas there, and say to Visakha, Upasaka, that Anusaya with regard to any type of feeling is gone when you are in the jhana. I think now 8:50, it's better for us to have a discussion. Then last part of the discourse is about something opposite and counterfeit. So there you can read, and there's nothing much to explain there. But I quickly jump into the last paragraph where Dhammadinna and Visakha ended their discussion. So Visakha, Upasaka approved, seems approved many things Dhammadinna said, because he is in that position too, because he was an Anagami. However, Sutta says the layman Visakha, having joyfully approved of the nun's Dhammadinna's word, rose from his seat, saluted her, keeping his right side to the nun Dhammadinna. He approached the Blessed One immediately. Because one question when Visakha asks is about Nibbana. What is the basis for, it's like the question is like this: Nibbana is unconditional state. But when you ask a question otherwise, you are not going to answer it, and that's the end of asking question. We can find this situation in a couple of times in the entire Tripitaka. If you ask a question, what based on Nibbana is, of course, the Dhamma should be practiced, the Noble Eightfold should be practiced to achieve Nirvana. But Nirvana itself is unconditional state, but the Dhamma, whole the practice is conditional state. Still. So, because of that question, Venerable Dhammadinna said, no, you have gone beyond asking question with regard to Nibbana. You cannot ask this kind of question. And if you have any doubts about what I said so far, you better go to our teacher, the Supreme Buddha, and relate all these things we discussed, and what you need to accept what the Buddha said after. Not don't believe on my words. Something like that. Venerable Dhammadinna said. Then when Visakha went to the Supreme Buddha, having approached the Buddha, he saluted him and then sat down at one side. Sitting thus at one side, the layman Visakha related the whole conversation he has had with the nun Dhammadinna. When this was said, the Buddha said to layman Visakha, wise Visakha is the nun Dhammadinna of great wisdom. Visakha is the Dhammadinna. Dhammadinna is wise. Dhammadinna has great wisdom. If you, Visakha, had asked me about its meaning, if you, Visakha, asked all these questions from me, I too would have explained them to you in the same manner. And such indeed its meaning. So you remember that Venerable Dhammadinna is such a wonderful bhikkhuni in the Sasana, particularly with regard to explaining the deep Dhamma like this, so that she's master on wisdom. This is the end of the discourse. So now the floor is open for anyone to speak. I can see that Vimal Mahatma raised his hand. He's from Sri Lanka. So, yeah, you can talk.
Good morning, Bante.
Yes, wish you the same.
Is it possible for me to have some examples for neutral feeling and the underlying tendencies for same, Bante?
You're going to say it, right? Oh, you want me to
I'm asking you, Bante.
Okay. So, You're asking about the neutral feeling and
Examples.
some examples, right?
Yeah, and the underlying tendencies for same.
All right. Um, in my understanding, neutral feeling exists in us in situation like this. Suppose you are sitting on a chair uh, without without anything pleasant and anything unpleasant. I have those situations very much. You can then I check my mind whether I have pleasant feeling. This is the way I come to the conclusion whether I have pleasant neutral feeling. Do I have pleasant feeling? No. Do I have unpleasantness is my in my mind? No. Sometime I look into news when I'm not a frequent person who listen to news either from Sri Lanka or elsewhere, but sometime others talk about this and that, so I go to either YouTube and or TV channels and watch it. So there are news that never relate to me. uh, let's say that construction is going on somewhere in Europe, and there are some other issues with that, so I watch it. So I neither have pleasant feeling no unpleasant feeling about it, because there is no relatedness to me. I particularly see that the existing arising and existing of neutral feeling there because it's not related. But somehow if I see somebody is hurted uh, by any incident over there with injuries or with any abusive words or any that is something unpleasant, because it's a suffering for a human being. So for example, if you see a rally in TV and average people fight with police, and there is a whole lot of things happen, and so I quickly think that if I were there, if my brother is there, if my sister is there, if my father is there, oh, it's so much. I feel those feel. No, the cause of rally is not addressed here, but suffering is there. So then unpleasant feeling might arise when drought is telecasted and people have no water, no lot of suffering. So that is unpleasant feeling. So with regard to seeing something neutral, I would have neutral feeling. I quickly look into my mind in that way. Do I have pleasant feeling? Do I have unpleasant feeling? No, I rational that there is no pleasantness, no unpleasantness. Then it's neutral feeling. So suppose you go on a trip. Let's say you started a trip to Anuradhapura tomorrow, and you are driving. You see many cars, many vehicles, many buses, many people, many trees, many buildings on both side of the road. But you neither have pleasant feeling, no unpleasant feeling. What is there then in your mind? Neutral feeling. So I think many times in our life we have this neutral feeling based on what we see, what we saw, what we heard, what we sense, what we smelled, what we uh, you know uh, experience through body. So we have this the problem of not knowing this feeling just because we do not know how to see it. So we have unneutral feeling a lot in our life, like the other two feeling. If you take a day as example, you can watch how many times we have neutral feeling. I think similar to the number of pleasant and unpleasant feeling, we have neutral feelings too. So these are some of the examples I can bring into you about neutral feeling. I don't know it whether it makes sense or not, but when we see something that are not really related, we feel that neutral feeling. When we hear something not anything significant, we have neutral feeling. When we eat when we smell something not uh, too strong, I would say there could be a neutral feeling through the smelling and so on. For example, if you take a cloth and you you so you are trying to wear it like this, so there is no particular feeling, there is no particular smell on it, so that there could be a neutral feeling with regard to smelling. So likewise, we have moments of neutral feeling in our life a lot, but the reaction we have to neutral feeling is not not significant. We always look for pleasantness and unpleasant. Of course, we don't like unpleasant. We are always looking for pleasant. Sukha kamani bhutani. As beings, not only as human, every beings are looking for pleasant feeling. Sukha kamani bhutani. Dukkha patikkulo. All living beings reject pleasant feeling. However, in the course of looking for pleasant feeling and rejecting of unpleasant feeling, we get neutral feeling a lot. But beings are not ready to see it, because without wisdom, without a kind of knowledge about it, we are not going to see it. So the second part of your question is, how do we relate that neutral feeling to avijjanuse, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, when you do not know about neutral feeling, it's called ignorance, simply. Because anytime you know about pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and also neutral feeling, it means you are awakened to the particular feeling, which means you have a kind of awareness. When there is awareness of any feeling, no place for ignorance to exist there. When you do not know unpleasant feeling as when you do not know neutral feeling as neutral feeling, ignorance is there. Not knowing what neutral feeling is ignorance.
So the neutral feeling is based on your perception, is it?
Oh yes, definitely. Because perception, sanjanana, is arising with the feelings. That's why Buddha has put these two together. We cannot separate the feeling, sanya, vedana. They are in your attitude. They are inborn. They are living together. It's like your back and front and back. So you cannot talk about front without back. So that you perceive, with regard to sanya, let's say nitya sanya, dukkha sanya, sukha sanya, and so on. So particularly nitya sanya, sukha sanya, subha sanya, atta sanya, there you have neutral feeling. Because neutral why do we have sukha sanya? Why do you have nitya sanya? Because we are looking for something pleasant. So when you are looking for something pleasant, it means that you are rejecting both pleasant unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling. Because people who are looking for, living beings who are looking for nitya sanya, sukha sanya, subha sanya, atta sanya, and so on, they don't like unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling, definitely.
Oh.
When they have pleasant, unpleasant feeling, they are trying to turn it to pleasant. When they have neutral feeling, they do not enjoy it very much, because there is no taste in it like pleasant feeling. So their whole effort is to turn it to pleasant feeling. But look at Indriya Bhavana Sutta. The one who understand all these three type of feeling definitely see the impermanence of these three feeling. So that the wise people who meditate, the people who understand these three type of feeling, should try to get equanimity, upekka vedana is away from these three feeling, according to Indriya Bhavana Sutta. Upekka vedana is above neutral feeling. So it happens when you know what neutral feeling is. It happens when you really see the impermanence of pleasantness and unpleasantness.
In one place, Reverend, Venerable Dhammadinna says this neutral feeling is not always linked to avidya.
Yeah.
So,
And also pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling too. There.
so can you have some examples on such experiences or neutral feeling where it is
That's
not
why I
based on
told. That's
avidya?
why. Yeah. That's why I told you in Pojjana adukkang asukang. If you look at the four jhana qualities, sukhassa cha pahana, dukkhassa cha pahana, pubbeva somanassa, domanassa, uh, uh, pubbeva somanassa, domanassa, attangama. So when you are in four jhana, there is a feeling which is away from pleasantness and as well as unpleasantness, and it's a type of neutral feeling, but not the neutral feeling we are talking about in the normal sense. But this neutral feeling is much higher, which is away from avijjanuse.
Thank you, Bante. I will allow the others to join in. Thank you.
Yeah. Any clarification, any addition, any suggestions? Because this is this part of feeling and anusaya is really related to deep vipassana meditation. There is we can understand the theory of it, but it is really happening practically when you are in the meditation. When you jump into the pool of meditation, you are going to get it clearly. Yes, Dr. Pia.
I mean, according to the theory of the Madhupindika Sutra, so what you feel, you perceive. What you perceive, you think about. No,
Yeah.
usually the pleasant and the unpleasant is the one with the most prominent feeling we get. The neutral feeling. The question was asked before. The neutral feeling is not that prominent, so you don't think about as much as the pleasant and the unpleasant. So therefore it's not registered, so its ignorance is working out there. It's like the pendulum of it's an old grandfather the clock. It goes up and down. In the middle you don't see it staying there, but always you see the two corners. So in other words, therefore our ignorance won't pick it up unless you go back and think what was the feeling. That is, then it was a neutral feeling. But we mostly think about what we feel, we perceive. What we perceive, we think about is the pleasant or the unpleasant. That's where the craving or the aversion kind of works. So that the feeling leads to craving. That's where the Paticcasamuppada, the process ignites or lights up at that stage. So the main bait for craving is feeling. The pleasant, unpleasant, the dukkama sukha is not really felt because of the ignorance. That's what I thought of this.
Yeah, wonderful. Agree. Because actually, if you deal with the pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling, you have done with the neutral feelings too. Because one exists because of the other. So if you know how to deal with the pleasant feeling, you have cut off the way to unpleasant. You have cut off the way for unpleasant feelings to arise. Because in a simple term, you become angry because of expectations, right? Unless you have expectation, unless you have tanda, there is no problem at all. If you do not attach to something, there is no worry about it. So simply pleasantness exists just because of unpleasantness, and both support. And if you deal with these two, which is the thing we all need to do, then whatever practice you need to do with neutral feeling has automatically been done. In other words, if you look at the three root causes of suffering, lobha, dosa, moha. Lobha, desire, let's take the simple translation. Desire is because is exist, and when it means that dosa is also there, because You create one thing, and then you have already been simultaneously created the other thing, those. And if you deal with one thing, you are not going to have the other thing as well. It's like if suppose that you have three people to do the you have three culprit to deal with, and if you take one and you a kind of punishment, the other two will understand that the same thing is coming to us, and their power of unwholesomeness is gone, and they are going to actually hide. They are going to get away from the problem. They are terrified now because of seeing the damage happen to the first one. Likewise, if you deal with the first one practically, you have actually done with the second and third one also. So so that's how it happens. The moha or ignorance is always fed by the the other two.
Now, when you talk about the Anushya, the second thing you talk about the Sangyojana, I mean, I don't think, Sangyojana word is used, but it's not the Dasa Sangyojana here. It's saying that like the fetter, they use as a fetter, but this is not the Dasa. Dasa Sangyojana is the very strong form of the five hindrances, which is rooted as Sangyojanas, the fetters.
That's true.
The five hindrances are like Paryuttana, not Anusaya, not Vitikama, it's like Paryuttana level, like it comes and goes, right? The Anusaya is underlying, it's there, we don't see it, just like the weeds. Like you clean the garden, but there are weeds underneath the soil, underneath. So it'll come up and again, we don't see, we think, oh, everything is clear. But the top part is the Vitikama, which is the top weeds, we take it out, but the middle weeds, they come and go, but there's further weeds underneath, which we cannot really see. It comes when the time is right.
Yeah, true. So so long you target the five hindrances over and over,
So in other words,
you
get into jhanas and more, the less you're targeting, you're getting away, of the hindrances, to vivecha kamehi akusalesu viches dhammesu, savitakkan savicharam apivekam pritsukam pratamaja. So in other words, you're getting away from the hindrances. The more you do it, the better it becomes easier for you to get away from the hindrances, because hindrances are the ones just like a covering, because the stillness is there. It's like the moon is there, moon is not gone, but the clouds are covering it. Once you take the clouds, the moon shines, the prabhasara chitta. The chitta is always prabhasara, but the point is our hindrances keep coming up and covering it.
True. That's true. As long as you target the five hindrances and do away with, the kind of message goes to Sangyojana and other layers of akusala that something could happen to you. So be careful. So that kind of message goes to those akusala layers of akusala always. So that's why Buddha asks us to burn your akusala in the sense of doing jhana. So what you do with the jhana, you always clear your mind. You always clear your mind. At some point, you would be able to see the root causes of Sangyojana themselves. So you will be in a position to hold them completely and take one by one out of your mind.
Jayati, jhana is like the fire, like burning.
Right? burning those hindrances, burning down atapi.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome. So anyone who would like to say something? I think these.
Is it okay if I add something?
Yeah, why not?
Now, if we take the five hindrances, Kamachanda, Vyapada, they are like pleasant and unpleasant feelings. But the last three, if you take carefully and examine, they are Dukkhama Sukha. Am I correct?
That's a very good thinking. If you look at sensual pleasures, kama chanda and vyapada, we can see the direct links to pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling. And if you look at tina midda uddachukukku chuichikicha, yes, actually we can see that line over there with the three hindrances. However, the Tinamidda Uddachukukuch Vichikicha could also be in the first two also, because of Kamachanda, because of Vyapada, the mind is agitated, mind is running here and there, mind is doubtful. So I don't see any wrong with that kind of thinking, but at the same time we can say that mind is always, of course, right. When there is neutral feeling, we can see mind is jumping here and there too, you know. Mind is agitated, mind is restless, mind is doubtful, because ignorance is the underlying tendency of neutral feeling, so that you cannot expect a doubtless situation when a neutral feeling is there, so you are doubtful because ignorance is there. So we can think of different ways like that. Nothing harm happened, but we cannot have any references for that uh, that uh, pleasant sensual desire is always, we can see the links definitely, but we have no references directly to see this. But it's a wise thinking. It's okay to think like that.
Thiruvan sir.
Okay, so it's now 9, close to 9:20 now. It is better for us to end the Sutta discussion for the day. So Chula Vedala Sutta is such a wonderful piece of Dhamma for us to read over and over. Perhaps you will understand the Dharma there, which you didn't understand now, with second, third, fourth reading very much. Perhaps you will be offering some Dhamma to other people with so much hard work in this sutta later on. So it's going to be a really nice experience for you. So Shraddha is always very prominent. We should have Shraddha on these kind of discourses very much, and try to be like those great disciples. And with that kind of trying, we would be like that, and hope we can attain Nibbana as a Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara. In the reason why I say this, attaining Nibbana into a kind of stages of Nibbana in this very life is could happen if we really get into the Dhamma in that manner. So read the discourse again, not maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Keep these Dhamma and read it after a week or so you can have new experiences. It's like suppose you eat paripu and rice and something else today, and you are not going to eat it tomorrow and day after tomorrow. You change the food cycle. So if you eat same thing every day, you are going to fed up with. This is an example only. And if you read the Dhamma same thing over and over every day, if not your Dhamma practice is improving very much, you are not going to experience that very much. So let's take this Chula Vedala Sutta in a week time or after 2 weeks or so on, and related to any other Dhamma facts, refer to this, so you are going to understand more about it. That is a kind of not advice, but a kind of opinion. So anyway, read the sutta again if you want to understand those Dhamma facts, at least to remember them. And having said that, I'm going to end today's sutta discussion those who listen to the discussion, those who participate in the discussion, and everyone who shared their knowledge. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. May you all be able to meditate well and get into those wonderful qualities of the Sabdhamma and attain Nirvana very soon. With that in mind, sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu.